Hi everyone, Sarah from EarthWise again. This week I thought I would give a little talk on women's health, particularly hormonal balance. The reason being is that I had a patient come in this week into the clinic and she was on HRT. She was taking bioidentical patches and progesterone pills, and she was having a terrible time of it. For a start, she was getting a lot of breast cysts and breakthrough bleeding, and she was at her wit's end. And when I asked her what made her decide to go on to HRT, she basically said that she was at the end of her tether and she did not know what other options were available. And this really concerned me because there are a lot of us out there getting to perimenopause or menopausal age, and I think there's a lot of confusion about it. And I think because HRT has been normalized to a certain extent recently, many more women are just simply turning to taking HRT without really understanding the implications of that. For example, if their bodies are not then metabolizing these artificial hormones out of the body very well, of course, there can be a buildup of estrogen and a buildup of progesterone. A buildup of estrogen, of course, is going to lead to complications. So I thought this talk was very important. And what I want to do is give you a very simple tutorial on how the hormones in our bodies work, because I think this is essential for understanding why, when there is a decrease in certain hormones, we're going to feel certain ways. And then I'm going to leave you with some very easy tips on how we can regulate our own hormone levels at this time, because it's very important that we don't replace hormones that are naturally at this time in our life trying to leave our bodies, but rather the goal is to be in such good health that we can allow that imbalance, temporary imbalance, or sort of as they start to decline, not ricochet us so greatly that we start to have all the associated mental, emotional, and physical problems. So the ideal is to balance the hormones naturally by certain plant medicines, which I'll tell you about, vitamins and supplements that can help, and certain things that we can include in our diet. But firstly, let's just understand that hormone cycle. So in about 28-day cycle, we have 14 days where estrogen is the main player. Estrogen gives us lots of focus, lots of energy, lots of clarity, and it's a very social hormone. So in that first 14 days of our cycle, as it's peaking, that's what will be happening to us. Then when estrogen gets to a certain point, it will basically signal to luteinizing hormone to basically, that will trigger an egg release. This then has a knock-on effect that follicle stimulating hormone is released into our system, and that's to get the egg all ready, so that if at that point there is implantation that occurs, basically the egg is in the best possible health. When that happens, estrogen has done its job and it starts to decline. So at day 14, 15, what will happen is progesterone plays quite an important part. And progesterone is a hormone that basically is there to really trigger a lining, the healthy lining of our uterus, so that if that sperm and egg come together at that point, they have got a lovely, soft, cushiony uterus with which to implant into. Progesterone also has a very calming, comforting effect on us, the hormone, and it really encourages good sleep. So during perimenopause, which is the phase before we go into menopause, it's actually progesterone that is dropping off more majorly than estrogen. Estrogen is a bit hit and miss at that time, so ovulation becomes a bit hit and miss, and when we don't ovulate, then it doesn't signal for progesterone to cut in. So progesterone is the first hormone that starts to decline, and which is why at that period typically women are presenting with anxiety, depression, moodiness starts to kick in. And at this stage, of course, women are aware of it, but not terribly troubled because, you know, with the right sort of lifestyle, healthy eating, you know, to a certain degree, we can help ourselves with that. It's really when estrogen starts to decline and we stop ovulating altogether that the symptoms of hot flushes, brain fog, low libido, dryness of mucous membranes, and those awful joint aches start to come in. And that usually is when people go, well, you know what, I'm not sleeping, terrible hot flushes, terrible anxiety, everything's aching all over my body. That's when I'm going to go down to the GP and ask for some HRT ASAP. But really, it's knowing really how we can support our own progesterone levels and our own estrogen levels that are really the key points here. So progesterone is a natural hormone that can be emulated by something called wild yam. Wild yam is a plant, it's completely natural, and you can get wild yam creams that literally are applied morning and evening, little pea-sized amounts into the body, and it goes into the bloodstream. And because it is the same chemical structure as progesterone, it mimics progesterone in our bodies, and our brain thinks, plenty of progesterone around, no need to have the anxiety, the sleeplessness, etc. There is a herb, there are a lot of creams on the market. One that I recommend very, very highly to a lot of my patients is one called Unique Progesterone Cream. It's a wonderful cream. I personally used it throughout my whole perimenopausal phase, and it was just fantastic. There is also a herb called Vitex agnus castus, which a lot of women have heard about it. It's used a lot in teen with cramping, lots of hormonal changes, and it can really help to settle down PMS, etc. when we're a lot younger. But it has an influence on the pituitary gland, so it actually signals to the pituitary gland to start or keep making progesterone levels. So that's one I use quite a lot as well. We also have things like rhodiola and ashwagandha that we can also include to start to support our adrenal function, which is that tired but wired feeling that we also get around that phase as sleep is not happening so well. We have magnesium and B6 as well, 50 milligrams of B6 that are also incredibly important at supporting the hormones at this time. At the point that progesterone starts to drop, there is another hormone called GABA, which is very responsible for feeling happy, feeling relaxed, feeling good, for our brain chemistry. That will also start to drop off. So herbs that actually really support GABA are ones like, I'm just trying to think what them, yes, L-theanine, amino acid L-theanine and B6 are very responsible for our GABA levels. So those could also be two very important supplements to include. For estrogen, there are a lot of plant estrogens. Once the estrogen has sort of like bottled, then, you know, things like lentils and tofu and chickpeas can very much emulate estrogen. So we've got these estrogen receptor sites all over our body. Whether those estrogen receptor sites have estrogen on or plant estrogens, it doesn't matter, it's still going to fit onto those receptor sites. So licorice root again is a fantastic one. Red clove, sage, these are all really good plant estrogens, and a lot of grains are also plant estrogens. So the body then thinks that actually there hasn't been such a dramatic drop off of estrogen. Red clover and sage are really, really good at helping with the flushes and to moderate the dryness of mucous membranes. And then we've got maca. Maca powder is a really good and widely available powder that helps balance the libido aspects to drop an estrogen off. And then we've got Dong Quai as well, which is a well-known Eastern herb actually, which really helps to improve circulation around the body. So it really helps with the brain. There's lots of plant phytoestrogen as well in hemp seed and flaxseed. So I always recommend that menopausal women are having a nice heaped tablespoon of flaxseed on their cereal, of oats in the morning, because oats are also a very good phytoestrogen. I often recommend soya milk, organic non-modified soya milk as well in breakfast cereals, because that can also really help. The overall support as well of the liver is crucial, because milk thistle, for example, which can help to cleanse the liver, is going to really make sure that we are producing the best possible hormone health along, and getting rid, biodegrading the old hormones that it's no longer wanted in our bodies. Hot water in the first thing in the morning with freshly squeezed lemon juice will give that liver and gallbladder a lovely flush out first thing in the morning. Healthy gut function, of course, you know, with our biome, so eating lots of fermented foods is also really, really critical, because again, it's about the biodegrading of hormones that are no longer wanted in our bodies. So those are just some basic tips. It's really such a full subject. I think what I'm going to do, having just given this sort of broad outline of hormonal health, is to go more deeply into specific areas where clients see me, patients see me all the time about specific areas that they are going through problems with their hormones, and break it down more readily. But I hope that helps. That's just a general overview of how very simply we can help our own hormones at this very important change in our lives. And estrogen never really goes away completely. Our fat cells and our livers still make some estrogen, because often women say to me, but what about my calcium levels? I'm going to get osteoporosis if my estrogen's not replaced. Well, that's not true, because like I said, estrogen is still replaced in our bodies. But at this point in time, obviously eating these plant estrogens is really going to help. And don't think that calcium comes only from dairy. In fact, dairy is a very insoluble calcium to take. Better quality calcium would be through things like sesame seeds. Tahini paste is the best possible source of calcium. Oily fish with bones still in, tinned sardines and stuff like that, you're going to get a lot of calcium from that. And of course, there's a lot in leafy green vegetables. I always say to menopausal women, actually, avoid dairy products, because they don't go well, and they put more strain on the liver, which is really where all our hormones are made. So that's just another little tip there for calcium-rich foods. If you are concerned because you have osteoporosis in your family, then osteopenia, which is the first stage of osteoporosis, can be avoided by simply taking the tissue salts, calc fleur and calc phos, building more soluble calcium into our bones that can be actually there to support our bones, because insoluble calcium in the form of tablets doesn't go into your bones anyway. So hope that's been a little bit helpful, super helpful, whatever, but just drop me comments in the comments box if you want me to go into any more details about that, and I hope it's been helpful. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Okay, bye.